It's 8 o'clock. This is the UK Tonight. More on the Epstein files. Sarah Ferguson appears to ask Jeffrey Epstein to marry her in newly unearthed documents highlighting her and Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor's close ties to the paedophile. Emails suggest the pair maintained a relationship with Epstein for longer than previously admitted to, and after he was first convicted. We'll have the latest as questions mount over whether the former prince could face fresh legal challenges. Also tonight, the heartbreaking story of a young woman who died of a blood clot linked to a birth control pill. 19-year-old Anya Rose Hurst thought she was simply hungover before her sudden death. Her family tell me that they want to raise awareness for the risks associated with the medication. An answer, finally, to who killed Victoria Hall more than 25 years ago on her way home from a night out. We speak to the forensic scientist who helped convict her killer, Steve Wright, of murdering 5 other women. Plus, the snooker-playing toddler who broke 2 Guinness World Records for his trick shots. We'll be hearing from Jude about his history-making achievements. All that to come, and much more on the UK Tonight. First tonight, new documents highlighting the close relationship between Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor and Sarah Ferguson and Jeffrey Epstein have been unearthed in a huge drop of files related to the investigation into the paedophile. They suggest the pair continued correspondence with Epstein for several years after he was first convicted of soliciting sex from a minor back in 2008. In one email, which appears to be from Ferguson in 2010, she calls Epstein a legend and asks him to marry her. Well, for more on this, let's speak to our royal correspondent, Rhiannon Mills. And Rhiannon, more pictures, more emails. What is it that's been uncovered over the last few hours?
Well, I think it's worth reminding everybody this is a huge task. Since Friday night, journalists around the world have been wading through this mountain of documents, photos and videos, and we've been doing exactly the same thing. And really, they give us a level of insight into those who were connected to Jeffrey Epstein and, more specifically, Andrew and Sarah Ferguson, and how their relationship developed and continued with Jeffrey Epstein. Now, one thing that I think shocked and surprised everyone over the weekend was a photograph that appeared within those documents, which shows Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor on all fours over a woman on the floor. Now, the problem with this photograph is, well, it doesn't suggest any wrongdoing, we have to say first, but also, we don't know exactly when it was taken, and also there are no notes on there to say where it was taken. However, our data and forensics team have been working really hard to try and cross-examine different parts of that room, and they have then managed to identify it as Jeffrey Epstein's New York City mansion by specifically looking at distinctive white panelling on the floors, also a distinctive door design as well. You can see the picture with Andrew there on the right. The other is another photograph that was taken on a different occasion of Jeffrey Epstein's flat, and you can see the different elements that link it to the photo which features Andrew. Now, why it's quite interesting that he's there pictured in that New York apartment is partly because in December 2010, it was in Central Park in New York that Andrew claims that he cut ties honourably with Jeffrey Epstein. However, looking at a mountain of emails that we've seen over the weekend, it is clear that neither he nor Sarah Ferguson cut ties when they said that they had done. For example, let's show you a couple of emails with Sarah Ferguson, because I think there's been so much focus about Andrew and Epstein's links, maybe not so much over the years about Sarah Ferguson's, but they are certainly telling and show a level of friendliness. The first email is from Sarah Ferguson to Jeffrey Epstein, and this was from August 2009. Why it's interesting is because it was in 2008 that Jeffrey Epstein admitted those paedophile charges. In this email, she says, "I've never been more touched by a friend's kindness than your compliment to me in front of my girls. Thank you, Jeffrey, for being the brother I've always wished for." So they're potentially suggesting that Jeffrey Epstein had been in the company of their daughters, Beatrice and Eugenie. Another email, which is from January 2010, again, a long time after he was convicted of those charges. It says, "I really don't have the words to describe my love, gratitude for your generosity and kindness. I'm at your service. Just marry me. Now, it is worth remembering that it was last year, towards the end of last year, that one of these kind of emails appeared in a newspaper, and Sarah Ferguson came out, issued a statement then saying, look, I was forced to be nice to him because he was blackmailing me. I wanted nothing to do with Jeffrey Epstein. And yet this does paint a picture of just how long their relationship continued, despite him being charged with those serious offences.
Rhiannon, what does this latest batch of emails and photographs mean for Andrew?
It's still really difficult. I think, look, you and I talked about it at the end of last year. We felt that the royal family had taken the ultimate action, stripping him of his titles, saying he had to move out of Royal Lodge, and that was all because this was becoming too much of a distraction. And yet now we see this blowing up again over the weekend. I think it will also embolden all of those who have said, look, Andrew needs to talk. He needs to share what he knows, what he saw, despite the fact that he vehemently denies all the allegations against him. Since those files have dropped, there has also been reports from a US lawyer in the States who says that he has been asked to act on behalf of a woman who claims that she was sent to Royal Lodge, Andrew's home, by Jeffrey Epstein. Now, Andrew, we haven't heard from him any statement relating to that. But earlier I spoke to Neil Basu, who was the former Assistant Commissioner to the Met Police. And he said in some ways the UK police forces may be forced to cooperate and help with any investigations that may come up.
The FBI may be interested and they may ask the Metropolitan Police for assistance, but there's certainly an allegation of very serious crime there. So it does need to be investigated, and I would expect the police to be part of that, the British police to be part of that. Certainly if they're asked to by the FBI because they've uncovered serious criminality and there may be British subjects involved, yes, it would put, I wouldn't use the expression put pressure on, it would be their legal duty to cooperate.
So clearly the questions continue for Andrew, for Sarah Ferguson. As I said, neither have commented so far since the latest files were dropped on Friday, as we continue to wade through them, and this continues to be a difficult distraction for the royal family.
Rhiannon, thank you. Well, tonight police say that they are reviewing reports relating to alleged misconduct in a public office following the release of this latest batch of Epstein files. It comes as pressure grows on Lord Peter Mandelson over his ties to the paedophile. The SNP and Reform UK today both reporting Mandelson to police, as our chief political correspondent John Craig reports.
Mr. President, thank you very much indeed in hosting us this morning.
Peter Mandelson flattering President Trump in the Oval Office last year when he was the UK's Washington ambassador. Only months later, he was sacked over his links with paedophile Jeffrey Epstein. And after the release of documents, including an unflattering photo of him in his underwear in Jeffrey Epstein's Paris flat, he's now resigned from the Labour Party, saying he didn't want to cause the party further embarrassment. But there are also several photos of Mandelson and Epstein together on a luxury yacht. It's documents in the Epstein files, however, that are potentially more damaging, including an accusation that Epstein sent him $75,000 and claims he lobbied a Labour chancellor on taxing bankers' bonuses.
Are you embarrassed for putting your trust in Peter Mandelson, Prime Minister?
For the Prime Minister and the government, there's no hiding the embarrassment.
Contained within the release by the US Department of Justice were documents which highlighted the close nature of the relationship between Jeffrey Epstein and Peter Mandelson. For the avoidance of doubt, this information was not known by the government until the release of documents by the Department of Justice on Friday. The nature of the documents also raised serious concerns about Peter Mandelson's behaviour. The Prime Minister has today asked the Cabinet Secretary to review all available information regarding Peter Mandelson's contact with Jeffrey Epstein during his period as a government minister and to report back to him as a matter of urgency.
The latest disclosures include confidential government emails passed to Epstein and have prompted demands for a police investigation. One is a Dear Gordon private email from a number 10 official to Gordon Brown, containing highly sensitive market information on secret plans to sell off government assets. Another reveals an exchange of emails which appears to suggest Mandelson tipped off Epstein about a government bailout to stop some EU countries going bust. In another email, the day before Mr Brown resigned as Prime Minister in 2010, Mandelson told Epstein, "Finally got him to go today." More than a decade later, Mr Brown's allies have accused Mandelson of a betrayal of trust, and the former PM has demanded a Whitehall inquiry. And in Parliament, opposition parties turned up the heat.
Someone who was sitting around the cabinet table alongside a UK Labour Prime Minister was sharing market-sensitive information with a Wall Street trader, a person who, of course, is a notorious convicted paedophile. That's beyond any sort of normal realms of discussion in UK politics, and it goes right to the heart of the judgment the Prime Minister showed by appointing this man.
Sky News has approached Lord Mandelson for a response to these claims. In response to previous allegations, he said he was wrong to believe Epstein following his conviction and apologised for continuing his association with him.
MPs have been told that the Prime Minister believes Peter Mandelson should not remain in the House of Lords or keep his title. However, he does not have the power to remove him. So the government is calling on all political parties, including the Conservatives, who are the biggest party in the House of Lords, to work with the government to modernise disciplinary procedures.
But the government has not ruled out legislating to remove Mandelson from the Lords. John Craig, Sky News.
Well, let's go to the US. Our US correspondent James Matthews is standing by. And the big question over here in the UK at the moment, James, is should Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor, should Lord Mandelson head to the US to answer questions?
Hi, Sarah-Jane. Well, the answer on this side of the Atlantic is a definite yes. I know because I've just spoken to one prominent member of the House Oversight Committee, Suhas Subramaniam. And I asked him about the man formerly known as Prince Andrew and Lord Mandelson, and he said both should come to appear before that Oversight Committee for a question and answer session. He's not happy about the release of the Epstein files. This member of this committee, he speaks about the £2.5 million that haven't been released. This committee, members of it, they're in touch with victims. They know testimony that's been given to defence or Department of Justice officials, and they're asking, well, where is that information? Where is that testimony? Because that points the finger at criminal behaviour and at potential criminals. So that's part of their reaction, their first reaction on the latest release of the Epstein files as it pertains to Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor and Lord Mandelson. We got that in the past hour, Sarah-Jane. Listen to this member of the Oversight Committee when I asked him about Andrew.
We've asked him multiple times now to come forward and testify before our committee. We'll do it under his terms, but the more he hides, the more files we will find, and so we will find the information regardless of whether he comes to us and testifies. And so it's best for him to come and just tell us what he knows, try to clear his name as best he can. But until then, we're going to continue to probe and find more files. And at some point, I don't know what point, at some point, if we find more evidence of crimes, then the law enforcement, either here in the UK, needs to make a decision about when they should go after him.
Do you think that's a prospect?
I don't know. I'm going to let the evidence do the talking. But certainly if the evidence shows that he committed crimes and it's prosecutorial crimes that he can be sentenced to, then certainly I think law enforcement should apply the law the same way they would anyone else.
There you go, not for the first time, Sarah-Jane, the notion or the suggestion that law enforcement could and possibly should be involved when it comes to Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor, who, of course, vigorously denies the accusations against him.
James, thank you. James Matthews with the latest there from Washington. The family of a teenager who died from a blood clot linked to her birth control pill are urging others to consider the potential risks associated with the combined pill. 19-year-old Anya Rose Hurst had been taking Femidet for 4 years before a routine health screening revealed she had high blood pressure. She was advised to stop taking the pill to allow her blood pressure to stabilise, but then started back on the same medication after getting a fresh prescription from her GP. 3 months later, she died. An inquest into Anya's death, ruling that the contraception was properly prescribed in line with UK guidelines. Suffering blood clots as a result of the pill is rare, affecting around 1 in 10,000 women. But Anya's family told me many women don't fully understand the risks involved.
When she was nearly 16, her mood swings and her periods were quite heavy. So for that reason, we went to the doctor and they suggested that she go on the combined pill at the time. So we agreed to that, and we thought it was a safe option at the time.
Yeah. Anya had been taking this particular pill, Femidet, which is one of a wide range of combined pills available to women for 4 years with absolutely no problems. And then, Dawn, she went for an annual review, because when you're on the pill, as all women will know, your GP says you have to go for checkups every year or longer if you're a little bit older.
Yeah, she went to see the nurse at the health centre.
Because it was a routine?
Her annual appointment in December of 2024. And they checked her blood pressure, as they should do in them appointments, and it read high.
Taking the pill, one of the side effects can be blood clots, the NHS saying that blood clots affect up to 1 in 1,000 people who use combined hormonal contraception like the pill. So Anya will have been told this when she was put on the pill, 4 years before, and that's what those regular checks were about. What happened when she went back to her GP following her nurse appointment, Kerry?
She went back to talk about an alternative, and the GP did her blood pressure, and her blood pressure was, he said, within guidelines. So therefore he recommended she go back on the exact same contraceptive pill. When she came home after that appointment, we was concerned and we voiced that concern with her, and she just said, well, that's what the doctor has said.
Anya died 3 months later.
Yeah.
Can you talk to me about the circumstances?
She'd been out at the weekend with her friends, had a really nice evening. The morning after, she'd stayed at her friends, and the morning after she rang me and said, I'm coming home, I've got hangover. But when she got home, she decided she was meeting up with a boyfriend and going out for food, so I didn't think she was that bad. That was the Sunday. The Monday, she works. She works from home on a Monday and a Tuesday. So she got up as normal, worked all day. That evening we sat together in our evening meal, but she was still complaining of a headache. So I was encouraging her to drink plenty of water, fluids, and take regular painkillers. Monday night she went to bed, and the next thing I knew, she come in my bedroom just after 5-ish, 5:15 in the morning, crying, saying that her head was really hurting, that it was getting worse. And at one point she begged me to take her to the hospital, and I ended up ringing the GP's surgery, and they told me to get her to go online and book a consultation, and I said she wasn't capable, so they said in that case you need to be ringing 111. I did that, followed that advice, and while I was on the telephone they was asking me to ask Anya to do things, and at first she was responding. But then she just stopped responding, and her head was going back, and she started foaming at the mouth. And at that point they told me there was an ambulance on its way. The ambulance was very quick, and they came in, 2 paramedics, and they asked could they stand on the bed, and I said do what you need to do. And they put tubes in her to help her breathing. And then they said we're going to get her to the ambulance as quickly as possible. And then they took her straight to the hospital.
An inquest later found that Anya died from a blood clot in her brain caused by a rare side effect of the combined contraceptive pill. I mean, Kerry, it's so visceral you talking about that. You remember every single moment of Anya's final moments. What did the medical team say to you at the hospital? That's what the inquest found. What were you told at the hospital when you arrived with your daughter?
They said they'd taken her for a CT scan. And moments later they came back and they said that we recommend you ring family and get family here. And once family arrived, they then told us that she'd got this clot and that they would do what they can, as in try with Manchester, Salford it was, to see if they could take her there and operate, which they decided that wasn't, they couldn't, it was just too...
The blood clot was too big, wasn't it?
And where it was, where they'd have to go in, it would just probably make things worse. And they told us that if she was to survive, she probably wouldn't be the same person. And once they tested her brain to see if there were any function, if there wasn't any response, they would turn the machines off at that point, which they did. In the end, there wasn't any brain function. They turned the machines off. She died within minutes.
Kerry, I'm so sorry for you and your family's loss. It's unfathomable that something that so many young women take for granted, the contraceptive pill, take every day. They think they know the risks. Anya was told the risks. There's a leaflet in the contraceptive pill packet that runs to, you know, over 100 pages long. And the NHS saying that blood clots affect up to 1 in 1,000 people. But people have this perception that it's rare. It will never happen to me. I mean, Dawn, that's just something that you want to tell people is not true. This could happen to you. You need to be aware of the symptoms and you need to factor it in as a real risk factor.
Yeah. I don't think there's a lot of awareness out there of the side effects, and like you say, in particular with Anya's pill that she was on, inside that packet, inside that box was a 102-page leaflet, which it's
Nobody
down to
reads.
nobody reads.
Nobody reads.
No, I know, probably now, my God, would we have read that?
Yeah.
However, people don't, especially young girls. And there's got to be clearer labelling on these packages. Just even you know, when people are looking to go on the pill, they need to be made aware of exactly what the side effects are and family history of blood clots and all sorts of things like that. I just feel there's so much more that can be done to prevent this tragedy ever happening again.
Kerry, your particular focus is on online purchases because, you know, something that women celebrate is the freedom and the access to women's health. In the UK, we are privileged to have that and to have that access, but it can come at a cost. You can go on a website, a reputable pharmacy website and buy the pill online, but it doesn't come with that structure, with those health checks, and that's something you're really concerned about, given Anya's story.
We thought we were being responsible, doing it through the GP, but we've later found out that actually anybody can purchase it online or in a pharmacy. without then the checks that a GP should be doing. We just want more awareness around the potential side effects and what young women are taking and putting in their bodies.
Well, a really difficult interview, but one the family really wanted to do. The Hurst family want people to remember that this can happen to anyone. The NHS saying blood clots affect up to 1 in 1,000 people. Well, after speaking to Anya's mum and aunt, we reached out to the Bolton GP Federation, who said we would like to express our sincere condolences to Miss Hurst's family at this very difficult time. In relation to the GP as his employer, we carried out our own internal review and considered this alongside the findings of the inquest. Our review and the inquest both concluded that the GP consulted with Miss Hurst in line with the UK medical eligibility criteria, the nationally recognised guidance used by clinicians when a patient requests this medication. Well, let's speak now to the GP, Dr Nikita Kanani. Nikita, a really, really upsetting interview, that, an absolutely heartbroken family there, but they were keen to stress that they don't want to be alarmist about this, but they want people to be aware of the risks. Their point was that so many young women go on the pill for so many reasons and listen to the risks, but don't really take it in.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, first of all, what a deeply sad case. It was just an utterly devastating story, both what the family have been through and continue to go through. And as you say, the family asking not for blame, but for clearer information, better awareness of side effects, and really reassurance that young women are better supported. And many women take the pill, and it is a wonderful invention in many ways, and has given women so much freedom. But like any medication, it does have side effects, and those side effects include some of the very common ones like nausea, breast tenderness, headaches, changes in bleeding patterns. But also there are rare and very serious side effects, which do include blood clots, particularly with these combined oral contraceptive pills. So the overall risk at a population level remains low, but it does vary depending on the pill and the individual. So that tailored guidance is really very important.
Yeah, the GP in this case followed the national guidelines and had the conversation with his patient, Anya. Do you think the guidelines need to be re-examined or a little tougher?
I think the guidelines are very clear, and when you put them into practice, when you're talking to your GP as a patient, you're going through the different kind of scenario that you might be in. Most women are well protected by the pill that they're on and the regime that they're on. But I think it's really important that a couple of things here. I think, first of all, when a woman is starting or reviewing the pill, they should feel able to ask which pill they're being prescribed and why, and what side effects there are, what are common, what are rare or serious risks to be aware of, which symptoms are urgent and when they should come back for review. And it's really important that we talk about this and that women know the sorts of questions to ask, but also when to seek urgent medical help. So some of the symptoms that it's really important for listeners to know about, some of those symptoms that might be suggestive of a blood clot, for example. That includes pain or swelling in one leg, sudden chest pain or breathlessness, coughing up blood, sudden neurological symptoms as well. So in Anya's case, the severe headache, vision changes, weakness. These symptoms are uncommon, but that early assessment really does make a difference.
The family have set up the Anya Rose Contraceptive Safety Foundation, advocating for clear, honest, easy-to-understand contraception labelling so people can make truly informed choices. Of particular concern to Anya's mum and aunt was the rise in online pharmacies and what you can get on there. Their point being that you can go on as a young woman and get hold of the combined pill, but you're not necessarily supported by that review structure where you go for your 6-month checkup, which, you know, all women have to do. They might find it a bit of an inconvenience, but as we've learned there, it's for a very important reason. Is that something that's of a concern to you? Because, you know, again, all women want convenience and it's to be celebrated. We have access to women's healthcare like this. But without the structures in place, it could potentially be dangerous.
That's right. Look, you've got it spot on. So improving access to contraception is really important. And the ability to obtain the pill through pharmacies and kind of online providers clearly has clear benefits. But earlier access does have to be matched with really robust assessment, clear information and reliable follow-up. When we have access without review or safety netting, we risk missing changes in health or some of these early warning signs that are just so important.
And Dr. Nikita Kanani, thank you so much for coming on to talk to us about this, a really important subject that, as Anya's family said, needs to be discussed a lot more. Thank you, Nikita, and a big thank you to Anya's mum, Kerry, and her aunt, Dawn, for speaking to us here on the UK Tonight about what happened to their family. Still to come here on the programme, an answer, finally, to who killed Victoria Hall more than 25 years ago on her way home from a night out. Plus, FIFA boss Gianni Infantino apologises to British fans following backlash over a joke poking fun at their behaviour.
The best thing about being a Sky News journalist? I'm going to take you behind the scenes here for Election Night Live. They have gone up and up. Being a Sky News journalist. Ed Conway, Sky News, is anyone going to talk to us? Mortgage rates did go up very sharply during your time in office. Here it is. First off, just the scale of what we're looking at. Our data shows it's been happening. Question is, why it hasn't been stopped.
Now, it's been more than 25 years since 17-year-old Victoria Hall was killed in Suffolk. But tonight, finally, there are some answers. The serial killer, Steve Wright, he was due to go on trial over her death, today changed his plea to guilty. Well, Victoria vanished on the 18th of September 1999 after a night out in Felixstowe in Suffolk, and she was last seen just yards away from her home in nearby Trimley, St Mary. Her body was discovered 5 days later, almost 25 miles away. Well, now that Steve Wright has pleaded guilty to her murder, the first time he has ever admitted to a killing, he also pleaded guilty to the attempted kidnap of Emily Doherty, then aged 22, in Felixstowe, the day before Victoria disappeared. Known as the Suffolk Strangler, Steve Wright is currently being held in HMP Long Lartin in Worcestershire on a whole life sentence over the murders of 5 other women: Tanya Nicol, Gemma Adams, Anneli Alderton, Paula Clonell and Annette Nichols, all killed by Wright over a 10-day period in 2006, with their bodies dumped across Ipswich. Well, let's speak now to Dr. Ray Palmer, a consultant forensic scientist who helped prove Steve Wright killed those 5 women back in 2006. Really good of you to come on the programme tonight. You will have been following this latest development with a huge degree of interest, considering your work in this area, and in particular to Steve Wright. Can you tell me your first thoughts when you heard that he pled guilty?
I was quite surprised, actually, not knowing too much about what the evidence against him was, but he's already obviously serving a full life tariff. So I was kind of surprised that he would he pled guilty sort of basically before the trial began.
Yeah, it took everyone by surprise, and obviously he was convicted of the murders of these 5 women back in 2006. You were involved in providing the evidence to that trial. Can you talk to me about the kind of evidence you brought to the courtroom, considering, you know, he did not, in that case, plead guilty?
Well, the problem was that the first two women had been deposited in a river, a fast-flowing river. And when they were recovered, it was basically very little chance, and in fact, it was thought there'd be no chance of finding anything of any evidence, significant evidence for producing forensic point of view. But the girls that were found on land, we were able to obtain DNA profiles from their bodies, which showed that it was a same male person that had been in contact with them, and that DNA profile was sent to the National DNA Database, and lo and behold, it was Steve Wright's name that came up. Initially, after he was arrested, the police felt that because the women were sex workers, that they would ideally like some further evidence that would bolster this, or in fact, you know, improve the impact of this in court, because obviously, being sex workers, his DNA on them would be relatively easy to explain. So we decided on looking for fibre evidence, purely and simply because, again, it's another contact trace that involved, particularly in these sorts of crimes. But also, compared to DNA, it can, in certain times, certain circumstances, actually give us timeframes for when contacts occurred in these particular cases.
Victoria Hall, murdered back in 1999, the 5 women you got justice for, you know, this was in 2006. Was the theory around that time that these weren't his first murders? Were police and others actively looking at years previous?
Certainly after the trial. I mean, it's quite unusual, as I understand it, for a 40-something person to start serial killing. It's very often it starts when they're much younger. So there was a thought that yes, there may well be other victims previous to the 5 women that were found near Ipswich.
In terms of the guilty plea, you say you were surprised, obviously, given the history of his time in court and denying involvement. To you, would this suggest irrefutable, overwhelming evidence that was going to be brought to trial of his involvement?
Well, like I say, unfortunately, I'm not au fait with the evidence in this particular case. But like all cold case reviews that this was, the techniques available now, 20 years later from when I was involved in the case, have improved very much. So whether it's DNA technology or trace evidence methodologies and instrumentation, it's like all technologies, it's moved on somewhat. So it may well be, and I suspect it probably is, that they've exploited the improvements in forensic science over that period of time to obtain, I would have thought, fairly compelling evidence.
Consulting at the time, as you were, on forensic science for the conviction of the murder of those 5 women, can you just sort of describe the kind of pressure that you're under in terms of, you know, a killing spree over 10 days, all of those women, and him denying any involvement? Can you just talk to me about the sort of pressure you're under?
Well, the pressure is because the courts and the investigative team have deadlines to meet. And, you know, you're dealing with one particular murder involving one person or one suspect, then, you know, there's a certain amount of pressure involved in that. But when you've actually got 5 people which you're actually treating as separate individuals to see if there's a link between them and the alleged attacker, then sure, yeah, the laboratory was working at one point 24/7 in shifts to actually try and meet the deadlines and the responsibilities of the investigating team. So yeah, very, very stressful time, especially as well, it was over Christmas, so I didn't get much of a Christmas that year.
Yeah, but incredible work done in the names of those 5 young women, Tanya Nicol, Gemma Adams, and Ellie Alderton, Paula Clennell and Annette Nichols. Thank you so much for your time talking to us tonight. Dr. Ray Parman there, consultant forensic scientist who, as we were discussing, brought about the evidence that led to the conviction of Steve Wright for the murders of those 5 women. He has pled guilty today to the murder of Victoria Hall back in 1999. Still to come here on the UK Tonight. We meet the talented toddler hailed as a snooker prodigy. He's already setting world records. Now, you may remember a couple of weeks ago, we discussed FIFA President Gianni Infantino taking a cheap shot at British football fans and their arrest record of previous World Cups. Well, speaking to Sky's Yalda Hakim, he has now apologised for that joke. We can take a listen.
Do you want to apologise? Do you want to say something to them about this?
Yes. Well, thanks for that. Yes. First of all, I use the word Brit. You know that no Brit was arrested at the World Cup.
So you offended the whole.
So I offended, the Scots, the Welsh, and the Northern Irish. So I need to first apologise to the. I apologise. It was meant to be more of a light-hearted remark to show that actually, the World Cup in Qatar was a celebration, was a peaceful event, and everyone came together in a peaceful way. So, having English fans, real fans, coming in a peaceful way and enjoying and cheering for their team is something that is fantastic.
Well, you can watch Yalda's full interview with Gianni Infantino on The World that follows us here on Sky News at 9 o'clock. Now, a snooker prodigy from Manchester is taking the sport by storm, becoming the youngest ever player to successfully pot 2 trick shots. I bet you've never seen anything quite like it. At the end of last year, Jude took home 2 world records after completing a bank shot and then a double pot, completing both at the age of just 2 years old. He's also one of the youngest double record holders in Guinness World Record history. A little earlier, before his bedtime, I sat down with the snooker star and his dad.
I play a bit myself, not at a higher level, but a decent level. And you just want to kind of see if your kids can pick up the same hobbies as yourself. So got him a little table, little A4 thing that sits on the ground, and straight away, just really natural ability from the off.
Natural ability and trick shots coming naturally. I mean, even seasoned players struggle with those. Jude, you've got your certificates behind there. Can you show them to me, Jude?
You show them? Do you want to hold it? Okay, hold it.
That one. So what's that one for?
Wow. So this one is the youngest person to make a snooker double pot is Jude Owens.
I love that. Certificate is bigger than Jude. So talk to me about what that trick shot involves for those who don't know anything about snooker.
So, in simple terms, there was 2 reds over 2 separate pockets, and in one stroke of the white, he pots one, and it comes across and it knocks the other one in. Yeah. So it sounds really easy, but for a 2-year-old to do it, it's a bit surreal.
Yeah. Jude, was that easy? Was that easy to do?
Was it easy?
He's modest. And what was the other trick shot? Because, of course, he's in the Guinness record for doing both at the same time.
Yeah,
one after the other.
Other one is on a pool basis, so they call it a pool bank shot, but in modern terms, it's a double in pool. So basically, he potted a full-length double on a full-sized pool table.
Jude, how much do you like playing snooker?
You love big snooks, don't you? Will you show them how you do it? Show them how you do it, then. Whoa!
That is some techers. And Luke, just in terms of the way he's playing, obviously, at what point did you realise that he had something here? When did he first do a trick shot? Did you think it was a bit of a fluke?
Early on, it was more of a proud dad thing, and you're not sure. People are giving you feedback and saying, he looks really good, like, wow, that's amazing and stuff. He's off now. But it was probably when he was about 2.5, and I took it a bit more serious, and I thought, he's got something special here, and people are not just saying it for the fun of it and a bit of support. They're actually saying, wow, how is he actually doing that?
And just in terms of what he's going to go on to do, because he has, as I said, only just turned 3. He actually got this double Guinness World Record at 2. You look at the likes of Ronnie O'Sullivan. He didn't pick up a cue until he was around 7. In other sports, you've got Luke Littler, who started playing darts when he was in nappies. Rory McIlroy as well in golf. As a toddler, he picked up a set of clubs. What do you think Jude can do? What would you like him to do? What would he like to do?
If it was up to me, world snooker champion is the one main thing. But at the moment, I just like to keep it fun for him. Like, you know, when he wants to play, he plays, and when he doesn't, he doesn't. But it's him that tells us, I want to go big snooks. That's what he calls it. So whenever he wants to go, we'll just go and have a practice. But he is getting better, and I do think there's actually more records to be broken even this year while he's free, because I still don't know of any 3, 4 or 5. So he's got a few years to kind of, we'll probably have to run out of room on the wall soon.
Well, look, the collection has started, and it sounds like it's going to be quite the collection going forward. Is Jude there? Can he say goodbye? I mean, it's the first time I've had a sportsman walk off in the middle of an interview. I've seen it happen on Sky Sports.
No, he's just ran off. He's coming back. All the fans want to see you. Quick, Jude. Can
you say goodbye to your fans on Sky News, Jude?
I'm going to be back.
Yeah, come here then and say bye to everyone. They want to see you. Come here, in the middle. You waving? Waving.
Bye, Jude. Good luck. Tell me how much you love playing snooker.
Oh, she loves big snooks. What do you call it? What's it called? What do you call it? I'm at a bad time here.
No, that's all right. Don't worry. Big snooks. I can see it on the T-shirts already.
Snooks. Wow.
Listen, thank you so much for talking to us on Sky News, and good luck. Jude, I'm sure we'll be speaking again in years to come. Jude and big snooks, love it. Coming up on the UK tonight, after the break, the transfer deadline day deals continue to be announced, even though the window in England is now shut. Find out which North London club won the battle for Scottish teenage sensation James Wilson next.
This is how you travel when the mafia wants to kill you.
He's almost given up his own freedom, but that's the price he's willing to pay.
Here, they don't just arrest and Ndrangheta mafia members, they also live among them.
Time after time, I've seen the devastating impact of extreme weather and climate change.
We don't have much snow at the moment.
They've had a warm spring and exceptionally hot summer, and that means they're expecting to lose more than 3 times the amount of ice than they usually do.
Flames are still forcing people from their homes and leaving many questioning their futures.
Here was my life. We have nothing. I can't say anything, it's so sad.
This disaster is testing the resolve of everyone on this island.
The only way out now is by boat.
Everything you see is devastated, and the misery being felt by people living here is repeated in towns and villages across Central Europe. Sky News, get the full story first.
Turkey is burying its dead. The loss is profound.
Whole families died in this collapse, generations wiped out.
The violence has penetrated the heart of the city rather than being contained to the estates around the edge, and that speaks to the level of anger being felt here. In Sweden, police have seized a lethal stash. This is just a small sample of the deadly arsenal taken off the streets.
This is an example of an advert, really. Anyone of any age could say, I'll do that for £1 million, and then have to go and shoot someone.
Yes.
I'm Siobhan Robbins, Sky's Europe correspondent based here in Berlin.
There's always more to the news than a headline. We want to discover, to delve a little deeper, to find out what's really going on. Explanation, analysis, the people at the heart of every story. I'm Neil Patterson, and this is the Sky News Daily Podcast. So, by the end, we'll hopefully all understand what's going on in the world just that little better. Available wherever you get your podcasts.
Time now for a look at the sport. Here's Dharmesh.
Zero shot for United! Very good! Get in there, beauty! However, lads!
As a youngster, Alan Shearer had one ambition: to play in the black and white stripes of Newcastle United. News of his signing was confirmed by Kevin Keegan on Newcastle's current tour of Thailand.
We have signed Alan Shearer. It's a world record fee that we've paid, and we're delighted.
Fantastic, absolutely fantastic.
Most important point is a Geordie.
We want to save the press conference until we go back home to Newcastle, because the signing is for the people of Newcastle.
I've got no comment to make at this stage. I'll make it later on. You must be pleased, thank you. Delighted. Thank you.
It was just time to come back home because I'd left 10 years earlier to go down to Southampton as a 15-year-old. It wasn't as if Newcastle were struggling. They were a club that had just thrown away that 12-point lead in the race for the title. I just had to come back home. It was my dream to play for Newcastle and score goals at the Gallagher end, and I wanted my best years ahead of me.
His hometown club have been doing brisk business in copies of the shirt Shearer will wear.
525 for his name, but we don't know if he's number 9 yet or not, but that's the number people are getting. It would be like 725 for his name and number.
Every Geordie, like a homing pigeon, wants to come home. Alan's come home, and I think it's great for the club. And it say to the kids in the air, we're going to give you a chance.
He's coming home, he's coming home, he's coming home, Shearer's coming home.
Newcastle United, that little team in the northeast of England, do you know? We're breaking records. We're giving people hope again. The football team has such an effect on our lives.
So John, £15 million is an awful lot of money. Will you ever get it back?
It is an awful lot of money. I wish we'd paid less, but, you know, it's the marketplace. It's the business of football.
Shearer's move from Blackburn to Newcastle beats the previous record, the £13 million that AC Milan paid for Gianluigi Lentini, and it's almost...
Now for a look at the weather.
Dinner under the stars tonight?
That reminds me of our travel insurance.
You mean All Clear Skies?
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors Sky News Weather.
There's more rain to come this week, bringing a risk of flooding, especially to the saturated southwest. Most places will have a windy, rather murky evening with a chance of a few drizzly outbreaks. Northeastern Scotland will see some heavier showers, bringing snow to the hills, while the southwest will turn wet. South Wales, the southeast of Ireland and southwestern England will see rain overnight, heavy on the hills. There'll be more showers in the northeast too, wintry to increasingly low levels.
All Clear Travel Insurance proudly sponsors Sky News Weather.
That's all from the UK tonight. We'll be back tomorrow night at 8 o'clock. Up next, it's Yalda with The World and that exclusive interview with the FIFA president, Gianni Infantino. We'll see you tomorrow.